we will just get started. So good morning from Sarah and myself from Beyond HR. Lovely to see everybody that's here today. New faces, familiar faces, and some very new faces that we've not met before. So welcome this morning. We will keep this to the 45 minutes. Everyone's time is very precious, so we'll make sure that we keep it to 45 minutes. And the tab that you do want to get familiar with today is the question and answer. It'll either be at the top or at the bottom of your screen. And please feel free. I know what it's like when you're itching to ask questions and you're waiting. Don't wait to the end. Post these all throughout, but we'll get to these questions at the end. And if we don't get to them today, then we will come back to you with an answer as well. But as many questions is good. So that's great. A couple of people saying about their sharing screens and stuff. That's fab. No problem at all. But it's really good to have you here today in terms of unlocking the secrets to 2025 success and HR strategies that drive growth. So the session has been recorded today, and just if you are sharing any information, just be mindful, no company names, etc. Mr. and Mrs. X would be good enough for today. Disclaimer, always the disclaimer, the information that we share today, what's it like, Sarah, may change tomorrow. So today's information is only that of today's information. So just make sure if you are getting advice later on, you're getting the most up-to-date advice as well. Throughout today's session, there will be key differences between both Great Britain, GB, and Northern Ireland, NI, in terms of differences, and we'll have a wee look at those later in terms of changes, etc., that's taking place. But I'll keep you right, and certainly after, if you do want to know specifics for where you are based, then absolutely give us a wee shout as well. But we will cover both GB and NI in today's sessions as well. Questions at the end, as we said, as whoever's just joining, welcome. Questions at the end, but please feel free to post them in the question and answers throughout today, throughout the 45-minute session today as well. And those that we don't get to, we will certainly come back to you with an answer as well. So hopefully most of you do know myself, and we've got Sarah on today to keep me right, to keep the tech. I can literally only see the slides now, which is rather daunting as usual, but lovely to see everyone and see the numbers and everyone's coming on. So that's fantastic. Thanks for joining today. I'm Natalie, Director for Beyond HR, and we cover businesses of all sizes throughout both GB and Northern Ireland in terms of our motto really is to keep business leaders and HR leaders to give them a better sleep at night. Okay, so we want to make sure that we stay one step ahead of the game, keep you guys one step ahead of the game. And this today is the session that we want to cover in terms of unlocking those secrets to 2025 success. Hopefully there will be some takeaways from today. We've got lots of things to think about. I speak even faster than normal at times to get everything packed into this session for you. But honestly, it doesn't end today. Just give us a wee buzz for anything that you maybe want to touch on a wee bit more with us, get some help and support on, or need confirmation on, or want to make sure that it's not changed by the time that you talk to us as well. And as ever, if you want a copy of the slides today rather than rattling everything down, please, I've got the email address at the end slide that you can get a copy of these today as well. I can see people are still coming in, so welcome today. I can't go over everything that we've just covered, but it's great to have you here. Go look at your question and answer tab and post any questions that you have here, and we will hopefully get to cover some of those at the end, but it's really good to have everyone here today. Okay, so what we're covering today, and if, for example, if the internet connection jumps down, I will jump the camera off just to make sure that you can hear everybody okay. And if you've got any issues with any of your connection or any of the sound, then please just drop us a wee note and Sarah will pick that up as well, okay? If I am looking at another screen, apologies, I'll try and keep the eye contact as much as possible, but if I'm looking away, I'm just looking at the other screen at the time just to make sure that we keep up with today. So the key benefits today, why are you here? What are we wanting to achieve? We want you guys to drive business growth by aligning your HR policies, strategies with your long-term goals and protecting your workforce and your business. We want to give you guys an insight to create a proactive strategy to help prevent harassment and promote compliance with the new sexual harassment legislation that's come out. And hopefully you may have heard and closed your ears, you may have heard and want to come on here to find out more, but hopefully today you'll have a better insight in terms of what you need to go away and do. And then, as we said at the beginning, what we want to give you today is a method to stay ahead and keep up to date on HR best practices, ensuring your business is well positioned to attract the top talent that your business deserves and achieve that success in 2025 and beyond. And we will all have seen sorry, it's just taking a wee moment to move over. We have all have seen, and we'll share that in a moment, in terms of Thrive in 2025, all the things that we are hearing, all the motivational logos and mottos and methods that we hear. But for me, what are your top 5 people priorities for 2025? Right, Sarah, if we could just run the first poll, please, that would be great. Just a wee bit of interaction. So how many of you have already thought about your top 5 people priorities for 2025? Yes, I'm all over it. Or no, it's still on my list. Listen, there's no judgment here as well. So be honest as possible. Where are you in the trail here? And maybe that's why you're here today. Okay, so just a couple more minutes. Okay, super. Sarah, you want to just share the results and we'll see?
The answered there already, Natalie.
Great. So we have, oh, sorry, the
Yeah.
internet the internet connection's unstable. So I've just turned the video off at the moment. Hopefully everyone can hear okay. So we have 18% saying they're all over it. Great. We'd love to know what those are. And 82% still on the list. And that's kind of where we thought it would be, to be honest. So great. Thanks for taking part in the poll. So it wouldn't be a Beyond HR webinar without us starting with some statistics. So among business startups, only 23% have a formal written business plan, compared to 39% of SMEs. And a survey indicates that just 32% of employers fully utilise their people data to inform strategic decision making, suggesting that a significant majority may not be leveraging HR analytics effectively. We know this one well. Some businesses prefer external HR support over developing their internal HR strategies. Yes, we confirm that is the case, and that's okay for whatever particular reason. Get some help, get some support. It's there for you. Get your ideas on paper. Talk those through with people that are dealing with plans every single day as well, and check in terms of progress. So that's, again, for us, that's a great stat to be aware of. And only 28% of HR leaders agree that the HR strategic planning process is fully integrated with the business planning process. Maybe for the 82% of you as well, maybe you've not set, let's defend ourselves, maybe you've not set the goals because the business hasn't set their goals yet, and they should be kind of aligned to those and follow through from those. But for me, it's really time to change this. Yeah, let's make it fully integrated with business planning process as well. And 80% of HR leaders agree that shifting business needs requires continuous HR transformation. So all really good stats, and probably the reason why the majority of us are here today as well. In terms of the next poll, if you could run the next poll, Sarah. So you've thought, for those that have thought about your people priorities, how many of that 14% have them written down? So, yep, you do, they're all prepared, but it's on your to-do list, it's in your head, it's not written down yet, but you're getting there. So interesting. Yep, just about there, I think. Last people just voting. Definitely on everyone's to-do list, 76%, and 24% have it all written down. Great, would love to see those. Send them through. Let's chat through your people priorities, and then obviously after this session, maybe see if there's anything that has changed with any of the insights that you're about to get. So that's just some stats to set today's scene. I'll come back on the camera to make sure that the internet connection is a wee bit more stable. Sorry, guys, I did say everyone's out there doing their Thrive in 25. We did we did a LinkedIn post for everyone in terms of the top 5 people priorities for 2025, some of which we'll cover today, other things we will bring in. But it would be interesting to see how many people had training on their list, training their managers, sitting down, finding out what their gaps are. Dealing with difficult conversations seems to be a really big one for us at the moment in terms of getting line managers to have those difficult conversations as well. We expect them to have those conversations, but 80% of businesses have never provided that training. That stat for me, we need to change that. We need to give them the tools to do their job, and that would be part of that. Keep updated. We'll have our session today in terms of as well keeping yourself up to date and knowing which areas might impact your business. Have that people roadmap in place. So having an audit done and getting your short, medium, and long-term goals in terms of what you're looking for.
Natalie, you're cutting out quite
Oh, I'll just stop the thanks, Sarah. I'll just stop the video again, and then hopefully the
bad there.
connection comes back in. Is that a bit better now?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's reconnecting a bit better there, but you did cut out that wee first point in training your managers just kind of
no
cut out at
problem.
the 80%
No,
of business
that's great. 80% of businesses never
change.
provided that training. Let's change that stat. Let's give managers the tools to do their job, keeping updated, and then having that people roadmap in place, getting an audit, see where we are, getting those short, medium, and long-term goals, and never stop learning. What's next for employees? What's next for managers? What's next for ourselves? Get it written down and let's get that nailed in 2025 as well, or started. Yeah, started. Let's even just get it started and plan your future head count now. Where does the business want to go? And we will look in terms of that induction and maybe why we maybe need to do that a wee bit more as well. Okay. And know your numbers. What's your employee engagement score? What's your plans to keep this moving? All things that you maybe already have written down or indeed need to think about. I'll just keep the camera off for now, guys. I see that the internet comes in and comes out due to the large number of people on the session today. So I'll just keep the video off at the moment. Okay, so where are we? What's happening? What's coming? What do we need to be aware about? So the trends in 25 that you need to know as a business leader or an HR leader would be top kind of 5 things that are out there. So people analytics, so enhancing that decision making. And we are seeing a swing of businesses automating more HR processes, more routine tasks, so they can indeed focus more on the strategic elements and their people plans and the priorities and the business objectives. So having a look at those HR processes that can maybe be automated, quite a scary world, but is there element in your business to be able to do that, to then give you the space? Time is golden. We only have that particular time and the job is never done, but giving you more time to focus on other areas. The employee experience and well-being. Now, this isn't only just now. I think businesses are quite good now at thinking about prioritising that mental and physical. But now there is another element in terms of that financial health as well that comes in with rising costs, with everything else that's happening. So is there anything that you need to think about in terms of in your mental health, your physical, your well-being policy, whatever that looks like? Have you also thought about financial health as well? And this, all the employee experience and well-being is one success story and key to boosting that retention and employee satisfaction. Hybrid working and flexibility. Still many organisations and businesses, quite rightly so after COVID, still finding their mojo in terms of hybrid working and flexibility, and still what's working best. At the moment, the hybrid working model does remain dominant, so a bit of a mix as well, and potentially in organisations and businesses that do allow it, because we understand certain businesses can't have any home working, can't have flexibility. But for many, flexible working models may be essential in terms of that attraction, retention, and employee satisfaction as well. EDI, so equality, diversity, and inclusion, still remains a trend. It has been a trend for some time, and businesses now are realizing the secret ingredient that building those inclusive cultures does create the best innovation. The best ideas come from having such a mix of individuals within your organization. The interesting one in terms of recruitment practices and attraction is about goodbye qualifications. So that skills-based hiring and that workforce planning continues to move where when you see a recruitment advert, when we're thinking about that menu of what we need from our next hire, is about those qualifications. Is it now indeed necessary? Or do we need to think outside of the box for hiring? Recruitment's tough, we won't lie. We all are very aware of that. But now, is there anything that we can do to think outside the box? And is that qualification as important as the behaviours and competencies of that individual? Or can we put them through that qualification? Or can we just be satisfied that they're the right person, but they maybe need a bit more training and support, but we've got the right person in an organisation as well? So these are the trends that will be focused on 2025 and what's coming. And you'll see all of the legislation that will map the way forward as well in terms of what's coming. But for Beyond HR, I think our non-negotiables for 2025 is you must attract that top talent. You must. And interestingly, statistics show, I think it was based in 2023, that 23% of global jobs will change in the next 5 years due to industry transformation. So who knows the roles that we're going to be recruiting for in the next couple of years. So you must attract that top talent. You must create not even a good employer brand, but a standout employer brand now to attract that top talent to your company in that competitive job market, because we know that recruitment can be tough. We must offer flexible working options and benefits. And the important point is everyone is such an individual. Home working for someone might be an absolute dream, but for another individual, it might be their worst nightmare as well. So attracting that top talent is really important. And also, 62%, interestingly, of candidates say that they only apply for jobs that meet the majority of their employee value proposition requirements. People are very driven on values and behaviours. So do you have these? Do you have them written down? For an external candidate, where do they see those? If they've got two positions that they really want to go for in two different organisations, there will be certain generations that will look at your values, at your behaviours, at your purpose. And if it's not clear, they'll go to the other organisation. So making sure that that is there for you as well. So you must foster that employee engagement and that retention. Look at conducting those regular surveys, regular feedback sessions to identify areas for improvement. People will speak, people will give you their thoughts. We are all about that continuous improvement, and that's really, really important. And recognising and rewarding employee contributions to boost morale, but be mindful that retention strategies have to go beyond salary. Throwing money and increasing salary isn't going to always be what works. So thinking outside the box in terms of retention strategies that may go beyond salary, whether that's flexible working, whether that's getting your benefits absolutely nailed, offering additional things that others don't, and being competitive out there in the market as well, because that is the key to your success in 2025. And you must future-proof your workforce. You must embrace that technology, whether you want to or not, or external support, and streamline your HR processes so that you can focus on the stuff that always sits in that list there that we all have, that we never get to, but is really, really important and will drive business growth as well. And focusing on upskilling and reskilling employees to adapt to changing business needs and demands. And what I seen the other week has never left me. If employees aren't learning, they're leaving. Okay, so that's just an important takeaway. If they're not learning, then they're leaving, they're going elsewhere where they can learn and keep developing as well. So that's our three non-negotiables: attracting top talent, fostering employee engagement and retention, and future-proofing your workforce. And again, we cannot ignore it. It's been there now at the moment. It is only applicable in Great Britain. Whether that comes, and we'll talk about the changes in Northern Ireland as well. We have had quite a few queries this week in terms of what happens if we have employees that are based in Northern Ireland for a Northern Irish company, but indeed maybe part of their week or part of their working month are based over here in Great Britain and deal with third party, for example. Where do we go in terms of sexual harassment in the workplace, and is that within scope as well? So that's some things that we do need to think about for your organisation as well. And 1 in 4 UK workers have experienced bullying or harassment in the workplace at some point in their working lives. That's a well-known stat that's out there as well. And the harassment is focused. You'll have policies in place already for other types of harassment, but this is particularly just focused on sexual harassment in the moment, and that's in the workplace. So that would extend to workplace events, in and outside of work events, Christmas parties, dealing with contractors, taking clients out on business in the evening, etc. So it extends. We have had a lot of cases as well where maybe when we're talking to contacts and businesses and organisations where they say we're fine, we're all female or we're all male. We have had quite a few cases recently across all sectors where it could be same sex as well. So male to male or female to female sexual harassment in the workplace as well. So the legislation is there, and what we really need to take away from it is the fact that we would generally probably only deal with, because we don't have the time and effort and resources, but that now swings. We would deal with things like this maybe when we had a complaint or we have a grievance in an organisation, then we put a real focus on it. But everything has swung round now, and it's now actually Mr. Business Owner, Miss HR leader, what are we doing to prevent that now in the workplace? So what have you done to prevent that happening, rather than what are you doing once you have an issue in your workplace as well? So that's really where all the legislation comes from. What have you done, and have you done enough? And a lot of you are saying, well, what if we decide not to do anything? There could be criminal claims, civil claims, but also any employment tribunal, and that's really what today's session is focused on, not in terms of the other items other than the HR and the employment law side, would be a 25% and up to 25% uplift in compensation. So if someone was to win their claim of 10 grand, there would be another 25% to that claim as well. Okay, so really it's about preventing and building, to build that proactive preventative strategy for you within your workplace, and in order to create that safe workplace culture as well. And remember, with all of this, that then is a good attraction tool, and we'll talk about that later in terms of compliance and growth as well. In terms of getting more information, we have produced, because it's a minefield out there in terms of once you start reading, you go down a black hole, but we've provided quite kind of succinct employee guide, a manager's guide, and a business owner's guide, a risk assessment as well, checklist in terms of having a look, and a flow chart. So again, if you want any of those resources, if you don't have those already, then the email address at the end, just pop us a wee email and we'll get over the full pack for you as well. Training forms a big part of the sexual harassment items as well. So training for both managers and employees, and making sure that that's documented. If it's not written down, it didn't happen as well. And we can give you some more information in terms of what that training would look like if you are interested as well. So that's sexual harassment. Now, staying informed. So we've got GB, and we've got Northern Ireland as well. Northern Ireland, probably quite an exciting time. Nothing has changed, obviously, since around 2004. The Good Jobs Employment Rights Bill, which is set to be the biggest overhaul in a decade, should see very similar changes to Great Britain coming forward. So fire and rehire, differences in contracts of employment, the allocation of tips, flexible working, carers leave, redundancy protection, all of these items. So we wait with anticipation, and we see the consultation closed in September there, and we wait and see, and we're looking around probably the earliest, the end of 2025 to 2026. But before we start this slide, just another bit of interaction. Sarah, if you could run the next poll, that would be super. How many of you are aware of your obligations for this sexual harassment legislation that we've just went through? just interesting for us to see because we know what it's like. Did you hear it on the radio when you're driving through? Have you already been updated? Have you heard and covering your ears because it's more work to do? Are you very aware of the risks and actually need some help and support? So yes, I'm up to date. No, haven't even had the chance to get caught up. You're probably still getting to grips with coming back after the Christmas break. And interestingly as well, never heard of the new legislation. And that's for us to get that to get out there to you guys to make sure that you now have heard of it and what we need to do as well. Couple more to come in. Okay, great. So 32% are up to date. Great. Up to date, good. Would love to hear what you are up to in terms of your planning. 48% haven't had a chance to get caught up, but I imagine after today it will be on your list, so that's good. And 20% have never heard of the new legislation. So again, great. Thanks for coming on. Now you have heard of it, so that's super. So what we're looking at now is changes that are coming in GB and NI. Just sit with anticipation because hopefully some of these would be what comes across to you guys as well moving forward. Now we don't have particular dates, so some you might see expected in 2026, etc. But it's better for us still to come out and tell you what's coming, and as soon as we know any dates, then we'll let you know as well. But these are just things to be aware of and keep up to date with. So paternity bereavement leave expected around the 6th of April this year. So that's leave entitlements for fathers or non-birthing partners in cases where the mother or primary adopter dies. So we've already got parental bereavement leave, etc. And this would be extended to paternity bereavement leave. The big change that everyone is talking about, which is expected in 2026 and links way back to the one of our first slides where we talked about getting that induction, getting that probationary period correct, is providing protection from unfair dismissal for the first day of employment. So at the moment in NI or GB, either that year or 2-year rule may apply. Disclaimer, after seeking some advice to assess risk first of all, but that may go. And from day one, employees will have day one rights with potentially a statutory probationary period, likely 6 to 9 months, where that simplified dismissal process may apply. So for those that do take commercial decisions and commercial risks and use up to that 2 years to do it within, we may have to wave goodbye to that. So it's quite a substantial change. And I would be saying now, have a look at your probationary period, get some help and support on it, make sure it is absolutely spot on in preparation for any changes to unfair dismissal. And that's likely to be expected around 2026, but there's lots of work to be done before then. Again in 2026, statutory sick pay, extending all eligibility now from day one. So at the moment there are 3 waiting days. So you would only get payment on day 4, but now this would be open from day 1 again. So again, going away, doing your maths, what would that impact be? Maybe reviewing your absence policy and procedures as well would be a tip to make sure. Obviously it would be a bigger cost now if anyone was to be on statutory sick pay as well. It may mean that you have to also review your enhanced or your company sick pay and get some advice to do that, because a lot of the budget now may be eaten up, where before statutory sick pay would only be paid on day 4, so wouldn't be there. So it's maybe something else to think about. 0-hour contracts are changing as well, expected 2026. And what we need to think about these is maybe compensation for cancelled shifts. We have no further detail, unfortunately, in terms of what would be a cancelled shift. Is that within 24 hours or 48 hours? We don't know. And also the right, if someone is, for example, on a 0 hours contract, but maybe they've worked for the last 12 or longer weeks on 20 hours, they could come knocking at your door and saying, guys, I would quite like a 20-hour a week contract, and come off this 0 hours, and you would have to legally consider. You don't have to give, but you would have to consider and have good business reasons as to rejecting that as well. So that's something to be mindful about 0 hours and get some advice and tips on, because as your 0 hours contracts, are they actually genuine and legit. Are there weeks of 0 hours? Is the shift pattern all over the place? Are there different shifts? Are there different days off? But are there weeks of 0 hours as well? So maybe take a note of anything that you need to do there and get some help on as well. Fire and rehire, or the nicer term, dismissal and re-engagement, we'll all remember from the P&O ferries and where all this legislation has originated from, but banning the practice apart from where there's no other viable business options and subject to proper procedures in terms of dismissing and re-engaging. And this could be, for example, changing terms and conditions. This could be reducing overtime rates. This could be reducing sick pay. This could come into a lot of other rather than going straight to kind of fire and rehire, dismissal and re-engaging. The risk, if you were, there's a statutory code, the risk not to go through that would be again a 25% uplift, and it would be an unfair dismissal where you cannot, as a business or organisation, show any financial difficulties or demonstrate the need to make the contract change was unavoidable. So this is where we maybe try and bring in a term or a reduced term, and if someone doesn't agree, we then issue notice in the current contract and give them a new contract as well. Okay, so that's something to watch out. The statutory code has been out there in draft, and we expect that to come in 2026. Parental leave, so making parental leave a day one right for all workers as well, again, expected in 2026. This could include paternity and unpaid parental leave, where at the moment there has to be where at the moment there will be some eligibility criteria, and there is that allowance of 18 weeks to a child's 18th birthday as well. Neonatal leave, lots of work in the background to get this moving, and it's expected to come in April this year. So if a baby is born early, way before their due date, then there can be some care leave and pay prior to starting any maternity or paternity, and that would be up to a maximum of 12 weeks, potentially at a statutory rate. Collective redundancy consultation and that one establishment. So if we are looking at making redundancies in 2025, it is expected in 2026, but just being mindful of that one established now would be out, because one establishment was quite grey with various locations over different regions, over different countries. What would create that one establishment? So that would be out. It would be just within the whole business now. And that would mean that you maybe have to consult on a 45, 90-day consultation period and may extend your process as well. So maybe get some advice in terms of what that looks like. Tribunals are potentially in 2026 expected to extend the time frame to make a claim from employees from 3 months to 6 months. So you all know if you've taken a decision and after the 3 months you can breathe a sigh of relief that there has been no claim, but now that may extend to 6 months. And the right to switch off and disconnect, which is across many other countries, France, etc. There is a consultation on this code. And what does this look like? How many times can a business owner message someone without them saying, sorry, I'm invoking my right to switch off or disconnect? But it's trying to get that healthy work-life balance. But also, what does it mean if people do want to be contacted in the evening because it reduces their anxiety? Will it be exempt for certain roles within an organisation, more senior, that they actually have to function outside of business hours as well? So it'll be quite interesting to see what this code is like, and any potential claims that would be made from there as well. So we wait with anticipation on all of this. And we cannot hide the fact that we have to protect our business in 2025 as well. And we talk about growth and we talk about success, but compliance does equal growth. And it's a weird way to think about it. But if we can demonstrate compliance with legislation, then it can enhance your company's reputation and then make you that employer of choice. So having a think about all of the items that we've talked about and getting a plan in place in the background so that we are ready to hit the ground running if it should come out as well. Mitigate risk through policies and training. So that building that resilient business model as well, regular reviewing, updating, but also training both your internal teams and your managers on compliance essentials and conflict resolution. Let's not forget about that, in terms of mitigating any risk and getting managers to be able to deal with this, and getting that action plan established. Um, which is quite interesting. And some more stats: 75% of HR leaders report that managers are overwhelmed with their expanding scope of their responsibilities. They're struggling. Have they been trained in the people management items as well? Have they been trained in conflict management? Have they been trained in sexual harassment? Do they know what they have to um, do as well? So getting that action plan in place. I think we've got another poll to run as well, Sarah, our final poll in terms of today's session, just having a wee looking at the time. Um, are you going to be prepared for 2025 and beyond? You're just you're overly informed, or just aware, yeah, it's only January, don't be daft, or you quite want to be prepared for these. And no judgment for those that saying it's only January. Great. Okay, so it's 40% you want to be prepared, absolutely. Others are just soaking all the information in, and we'll get a plan in place. And nobody said it's only January actually. So great. Okay, thanks for your interaction there as well, guys. That's great. 23% of businesses as well are confident that they're rising leaders who can meet the future needs of the business. So only 23%, another kind of sad statistic, are confident that the leaders will meet the future needs of their business. So is that how you feel in your business? And what's your plan to move that on as well? So we've had a bit of a whistle-stopped tour. I think I got faster as we went on, but if there's anything to take away, it's your 2025 agenda if you don't already have one. So start by auditing your policies, your practices, your alignment with the 2025, both people and your business goals. Get that roadmap in place to address new legislation that's coming to minimise any risk and the coming changes. Now, it can all feel quite overwhelming, so you can do your short, medium, and long-term goals. Remember, you can't do everything all at once. If you even pick your top 5 priorities, that would be good enough. And prioritise the employee experience to retain top talent and maintain that competitive edge that is crucial for survival and growth. Get the feedback, get your surveys done, get your feedback from your induction, get your feedback from your probationary period. Keep improving, getting better so that you get to be that employer of choice and your reputation gets out there in a really tough market. Protect your business and keep updated. Be prepared for what's coming. Education is a gift. You may not say that after you've seen everything that's coming and all the preparation that you have to do, but it's better to know than not know. So protect your business, keep updated, and get some plans in place. But get help and support if you need furthering guidance, if you don't know where to start or what the best way is. So that would be our 2025 agenda. So right on time. Hope it's not been too much of a whirlwind for you, but we do have some questions. If you've got any more questions, pop in the chat. As we said earlier, if you want a copy of the slides, if you want a copy of the sexual harassment resources, if you want any further information or any advice, then our details are here for anybody that doesn't have those as well, both for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. But I think we'll jump on to some questions, Sarah. We've probably got time for a couple of questions that have come
Yeah,
through, which is
I've
great.
received a couple here. So the first one is, if we just carry out standard training sessions for sexual harassment for managers and employees, is this enough?
Okay, so standard training only. When you delve more into the sexual harassment resources and see what's being asked of you, no is the answer. It's not enough. There there can be a course that's ran, but you also need to make it very specific to your industry and to your sector and the types of things or touch points, if you like, that employees, workers, etc., would be involved in to then make your training very bespoke. So the answer would be no. A certain element you could have as a standard training part, but then you're going to have to bring in your own industry sector guidelines and your own business in terms of the risk that you guys have maybe got some support and seen as well. Great, good question.
Yeah, we have another as well. Can Beyond HR help with training for sexual harassment?
Yep, absolutely. We can help you deliver that. We can do a train the trainer course for you. Like we just said there, the standard part is good. We would be working with you to see what your potential risks were, to then lay out for your industry or sector what those would be. We can run the training on your behalf as well. Um, that's all that's all good. And help create slides as well. So no, absolutely, we're working with quite a few businesses at the moment in terms of getting that all in place for both managers and employees, because you do need two separate training courses for there as well. Great.
There's actually a few more in here. So, how often should employee surveys that you mentioned earlier be carried out?
So surveys, really, it's down to yourself. At least once a year, and you can do those internal. You can do those external if you prefer, but there might be some other touch points. So, for example, those that maybe have just finished their probationary period to get some feedback there, those that have just been through the recruitment process, but also having that annual check-in for everyone and looking at the touch points, asking potential risk questions that you can see, not asking obviously is there sexual harassment in the workplace, but maybe turning it around in another way to find out is there any issues. And again, that would help satisfy that you're doing everything that you can and doing all reasonable steps to prevent in your workplace as well. Great.
Great.
Maybe
There's
one more, yeah, if we've got time for maybe one more.
well, there's three more here.
Okay.
So I'll try
We'll
to get
just
through them
do
quickly.
probably just have time for, I'm just very conscious of the time. We'll get back to anyone else that has questions that we've not
hmm
answered today, but we've probably just got time for one more.
Yeah. So we got a question asking, can you give a summary of the benefit right now between extending someone's probation period versus using the 2-year period if it doesn't work out?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see who the question is from. I'd be keen to chat to you to find out some more information in terms of the extension, what it's about, etc., where you're based, and we can discuss the risks and can discuss both options with you. That's not a problem at all. Oh, good.
And
That's great.
yeah.
Sorry, I see that there's other questions. I think we've maybe ran out of time,
hmm
but we'll come back with those questions as well. And thanks everyone for listening today and joining. Is there anything else, Sarah, that we want to let everybody know?
I think you've kind of covered everything, like you said. Like any questions we can see that have came through, we will respond to them. That you'll not be left unread. We will never do that, and it's very important that you're informed. So, like,
Great.
expect an answer.
Great, super. And you'll see our contact numbers there. Give us a shout if there was anything today as well that you wanted to ask that was quite confidential or quite sensitive, then pick up the phone and we'll get you booked in and help you through. And I would love to know your top 5 people issues, people priorities, sorry, for 2025. So please send me them and let's see what you guys all have nailed in 2025. Have a good one and we'll catch up with you all soon. And thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.